Good morning. It's been a while since I've been here and to services here. I want to thank, I can't remember your name, Heather, for the song and dance that will not be occurring during my sermon, but I can appreciate that, and I'm so proud of her children for not giving her the stink eye, because I don't think my kids would have ever gone for that. So, good job. A lot can happen in 5 years, and in many ways it feels like decades. When I last lived in Bozeman, I had taken a year off from my career in public education to work at the Museum of the Rockies as the volunteer coordinator. In many ways, that position was a bucket list sort of job for me. I had the privilege of digging up Triceratops fossils with the paleontology team at Mekoshika State Park, create curriculum for adults and children around me, from some excellent exhibits on display, and meet some pretty incredible people along the way, many of whom I see here today. There's a connection between the Museum of the Rockies and this church. So I left Bozeman in 2018 and returned to public education to continue my career as a school superintendent. COVID hit, priorities changed, and this last June, I finally made the decision that I needed to do something revolutionary that fed my soul and pulled together all of my passions, beliefs, and experiences. I was offered the position as executive director of the Holter Museum of Art in Helena, Montana, and I leapt at the opportunity. In order for that career jump to make any sense, public education and an art museum, I have to go back a little bit further in time. I'm an artist. I went to art school in Philadelphia at Moore College of Art and Design, the only women's art school in the Western world. Coincidentally, that was when I was introduced to Unitarian Universalism. One of my side hustles was as a bartender for a local catering company, and we had an event at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Philadelphia, which was actually designed by Thomas Jefferson. It was on 22nd Street. Another interesting fact, Kevin Bacon went to church there. So, 1 degree from Kevin Bacon. Anyway, in fact, we were bartending for a traditional Irish wake, and which was also a new spiritual and cultural experience for me entirely. We were stuck in a corner in the hallway by all of the commonplace UU pamphlets, where you can figure out everything you need to know about Unitarian Universalism. During the lull in customers, I picked one of those pamphlets up. It was the list and description of the UU principles. For the first time in my life, I was curious about what a spiritual path for me might look like. It was a long Saturday night event, but I got up Sunday morning and I went to church for the first time as a young adult. I knew I had found a home. I attended that church for many years, worked as the CRE coordinator for a very active CRE program, 200 kids or so. Eventually ran the youth group and traveled all over the Northeast taking teenagers to UU youth cons. And I sang in the choir, and this was the primary way that I practiced my spirituality. But don't ever underestimate the power of a good pamphlet, because that one changed the course of my life for the better. After my BFA, I went to Mills College in Oakland, California, also a women's college, and I got my MFA in studio art. At Mills, during that era, all MFA students were required to take graduate-level classes in all other MFA disciplines. I was ecstatic to take dance, theater, writing, and music courses. It was a dreamy time. I also began attending the Oakland Unitarian Universalist Church and got to meet Reverend Rob Eller Isaacs, who's a pretty famous UU minister. The UU world is interconnected indeed. Funnily enough, a few years prior to that, I had met Rob's sister on an airplane to Seattle, and she hired me for my very first commissioned piece of artwork. It was in graduate school that I got the teaching bug. This fever lasted for 25 years, and it's still going, and culminated in a few more degrees, another master's degree, another bachelor's degree, and many more opportunities to do the thing I loved to do next to making art, and that was teach. For me to be happy, I need both things. I need to be creative, and I need to teach. After 20 years in public education, on June 5th, 2023, I took the very brave leap to lead the Holter. It's been an interesting time these past few months. Transitioning to a new city, welcoming in my 90-year-old mother-in-law to our home. We are officially a sandwich home. Ushering my son off to his sophomore year in college in Miami, Florida. Helping my daughter navigate a move in her teenage years and starting a whole new career. And there was grief around leaving public education too. I had spent so much time and effort. I need to interject an important part of my story at this time. On August 25th, almost 2 months ago, began the very traumatic experience of almost losing my son, Ezra, to a horrific disease called ADEM, acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. His autoimmune system attacked his brain for some unknown reason. We still don't know, causing a series of very life-threatening seizures and stroke. He lost words, movement, and feeling on the right side of his body, and a whole semester of college and his sophomore basketball season. I'm so grateful for the world-class care in his 16-day stay at the hospital with treatment that saved his life. I will forever be indebted to the plasma and albumin donors whose plasma helped heal Ezra. We had to bring him home from Miami for the semester, and his life has been pretty severely disrupted. But he is on the mend and returning to the smart, witty, kind, and athletic human we all love. Recovery is going well, and he is on course for returning to school in January after almost dying just 2 months ago. But he's going to return with a superpower. He has a gratitude and zest for life not often seen in mature adults, let alone 18-year-olds. All of these transitions, changes, and life reroutes this past year or so have led me right here to talk about today's topic, the search for truth and meaning in an art museum. Art museums and UU churches actually have a lot in common. Art museums are places where you might find things that lead you to finding truth and meaning in your own life, or be able to see the worth and dignity of a subject matter that you may have not been able to see before, or be inspired to care for our earth and home in a new way, or engage in advocacy towards a free and just world for all. You may hear music and read texts that challenge your thinking. You may even weep at an artwork that connects for you in ways you never considered. At the Holter, we talk a lot about mirrors and windows. We believe that it is our job to provide opportunities for our community to encounter mirrors and windows. Mirrors are moments when the viewer can see themselves in the artwork before them. This is critical for marginalized people who don't often get to see themselves represented in the world around them. Windows are moments when the viewer can see a new perspective through the lens of an artist or artwork that they may not have had the chance to really observe or consider. Through beauty, we invite the viewer to find their own mirrors and windows. This past month at the Holter, we've been rewriting our mission statement and redefining our core values for a new generation of Holter family, friends, supporters, and visitors. The Holter has been around for 37 years. It's kind of a stalwart in the Helena community. As I've collaborated with my board and my staff through this process, in the back of my mind, but in the front of my heart, are my own core values. And the UU principles have come to mind more than I ever thought would be applicable. An art museum's mission and the UU principles may seem unrelated, but I believe they are profoundly interconnected. The common thread is the power to inspire and transform the lives of individuals and our communities. So forgive me for preaching for the choir, but I think that they are worth repeating. The 7 principles are the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence. I know there's been a lot of discussion and work on the UUA level to redo our principles. I'm not sure exactly where that's at, but for right now, I'm going to hold those in the forefront. In our principles, there are many opportunities for windows and mirrors. They are a spiritual map for us UUs towards seeing ourselves and others more wholly, and I mean that in both ways. Thankfully, the Holter, as a center of culture and creativity where the human spirit is celebrated, it just seems like the right place for these ideals to be expressed and shared. One way we share this is through our mission statement. I wanted to share it with you today, and it's the first public unveiling. We can play a little game. See if you can hear the spirit of our principles woven throughout. At the Holter Museum of Art, we aspire to be a beacon of artistic excellence through innovative exhibitions, inspiring creativity in our educational programs, and forging meaningful connections between artists, artworks, and our community. Committed to showcasing both established and emerging artists, we aim to be a vibrant hub that celebrates the power of art in all its forms and expressions to transform lives. We do this best through exhibiting excellence. We curate, amplify, and that's really important, and promote a diverse range of contemporary and traditional art forms, giving voice to artists who challenge boundaries and evoke emotion. Our exhibitions foster artistic dialogue, cultural appreciation, and critical thinking. Preservation and innovation. We cherish the legacy of the visual arts while embracing innovation. Through our permanent collections, we preserve the artistic legacies of exemplary Montana artists. Through new work from established and emerging artists, we explore the ever-evolving landscape of contemporary art. Education and engagement. We are dedicated to making art accessible and approachable. Through a diverse offering of education programs, outreach initiatives, and interactive experiences, we empower our community to explore and understand the significance of art in their lives. Collaboration and partnerships. We engage with local and global partners, both within and beyond the art world, to enhance our reach and impact. Collaborations with schools, artists, cultural institutions, and local businesses allow us to broaden our scope and create an integral network of support for the arts. Stewardship and sustainability. We're committed to responsible stewardship of our resources, ensuring the longevity of the museum and our impact for many future generations. And lastly, but probably most importantly, art is for all. We believe that art is for all, welcoming people from all backgrounds to engage in our programs and exhibits, and celebrating the rich artistic and cultural tapestry of our community and world. Humans have made their mark in this world for time immemorial. We've picked up burned sticks and drawn on cave walls. We've built magnificent and beautiful structures for shelter, spiritual pursuits, and higher learning. We've pulled a horsehair bow across taut strings to create music and sound beyond compare, and told stories by the fire and on pages that help us understand our greatest tragedies and celebrate joyous love in all its forms. We as a species are uniquely born to create, to express emotions, to live our lives by making our own marks in the world. My whole life I've been a creative person. Music, dance, writing, theater, and finally visual art. That came last. Every single one of these art forms have woven in and out of my life at just the right moments. In my studio practice, I tend to be someone who does a series of work, usually inspired by a moment of awe or heartbreak. Despite working primarily as a sculptor in my younger years, clay, found objects, and installations, I found the courage to paint 15 years ago. As a sculptor, I was inspired by all the great feminist artists of the time, having attended 2 all-women's colleges. I created a series of sculptures and installations responding to the work of the UN's Truth Commission and their investigation into the dirty years in Argentina and Chile. I also created a lot of work around women's reproductive rights and experiences. Then came a few years of rearing very young children, and I took a little break. I focused on teaching, and in 2011, we moved to Montana. Montana became my inspiration. The vast and varied landscapes, the colors, the history, the awe. I painted landscapes in specific moments in time, the kind that stands still. Next came my series of birds, northern flickers, nuthatches, warblers, tits, calliopes, jays, herons, kingfishers. If I encountered a bird on a walk, I painted it. Then I went through a time when I was so depressed that I didn't know what to paint. Nothing felt inspiring, and I had nothing to say. The only thing I could think to do was to repaint all my favorite paintings from the previous decades. New interpretations of old friends, new connections. There was warmth and comfort in the familiar, but I painted them in new ways and with new materials. And now? Well, this last year has been the most courageous to live through yet. Thankfully, I have an excellent therapist, in case anybody's worried. She knows that with children, teenagers, foster children, and a dependent mother-in-law, all the caretaking I have taken on that women all over the world all the time shoulder. To try to attend to my own self-care is just one more stress. One more way I can feel like I can never do enough. But she did say to me early last spring something so incredibly important. She told me to try and take time to tend to the flowers in my new garden at our new house in Helena. And I thought to myself, I can do that. And I did. The newest series of work is flowers and other growing things in my garden. In the last 2 months, I've become enamored by the lichen, moss, and fungi found in the rock walls, dark, damp places on the north side of my garden. I had never noticed them before. The colors, textures, and patterns are beautiful and interesting. Their ability to grow, provide important nourishment, and persevere no matter the harsh environments is a story worth telling. Thankfully, I'm not here to sell any paintings. I'm unsure of the current market of large paintings of mold, but they are beautiful. They're just a little odd. I'm here to transform my own story and life, and maybe by doing this, I can help someone else transform theirs. My life journey has not been easy. Deep, dark depression has made its appearance a few times in 47 years, but the arts have always lined the path out of that darkness. And my faith and trust in these 7 principles and the people who cherish them have brought me back time and again to community, just like today. To connection, empowerment, engagement, compassion, love, and to transformation. So in many ways, it is fitting that I have come to find a new home at the Holter Museum of Art. I'm blessed to continue maintaining a studio life as well. I also love squirreling away time in our very small but very full music room, plunking on the piano, practicing the fiddle, or my new cello. There are many special moments seeing my own children grow into their own creative lives as well. And in my new work at the Holter, opportunities to write, be creative, and teach are numerous and meaningful. When Sandra asked me a few months ago to come and speak about UU principles and my art and the Holter Museum of Art, I really had no idea how I'd ever pull those things together. And then the whole ordeal with Ezra happened, and I didn't think I could talk or really think about anything else. Trauma has a way of doing that. Truth be told, my life feels a little crazy and messy and unwieldy, but it also feels highly creative and connected and loving and transformative. My sacred spaces have become the quiet walls of the museum on a Monday morning when we're closed. My beautiful, busy, colorful garden and the welcoming creative space of my own studio. My core values, connected to my faith and beliefs that my spiritual work as a UU and the power of the arts can transform me and maybe even others, have somehow guided me here today. My hope is that I have provided a moment to peek through a new window and maybe even see yourself in a mirror in the words I've spoken this morning. And although we are in a church sanctuary, it has a similar sacred feeling as a lovely art museum in Helena, Montana. Thank you.